You don't use our military on domestic soil.
Wrong.
Unless there is an extraordinary emergency of some sort. That when you see an administration suggest that ordinary street crime is an insurrection or
a terrorist act.
Or a terrorist act. Yeah, that is a genuine effort to weaken how we have understood democracy.
What is normal street crime? Is it normal street crime to attempt to firebomb ICE facilities? Let me be really clear. If he's talking about Antifa, which is an extension of Black Lives Matter, Antifa is a terror group. We all know that Barack Obama was a horrible president, right? But what if I were to tell you that now, in his post-presidency, he's giving Jimmy Carter a run for his money and that it may be the worst ever? He's gotten even worse.
If we can actually treat everybody with decency and respect and compromise and make democracy work, it shines a light for the entire world.
Right.
And the other path of tribe and a zero-sum game and everything's dog-eat-dog and a competition and you try to take advantage of the other person because they're going to try to take advantage of you, that is the path that leads to things like World War II and the Holocaust. And
India.
Slavery.
Targeting Americans with the IRS.
Pol Pot and Rwanda. What you're seeing right now is a reassertion of this idea of like, nope, if you don't look a certain way, you don't think a certain way, you don't practice a certain faith.
We might elect you president.
You're not a real American. And I started to see this during that's what birtherism was about. Right?
Yeah.
That's what, when Sarah Palin was talking about real Americans versus...
Right.
I guess the unreal Americans. It was that.
Now, hold on a second.
Boiling over.
I want to clarify before we get on with this. This is why we have seen more civil unrest and a racial divide like we have never seen in our lifetime because of what he just did. Everybody knows that when Sarah Palin or Donald Trump or you, when you say real American, you mean somebody who loves this country, who loves what makes this country unique and wants to preserve it. He does that little switch where he goes, now, if they don't look like you, Sarah Palin, we all know she was saying that, blacks aren't American. No, that's not what she was saying. Yeah. She was talking about people who actually value this country and don't want us to be like other countries. More specifically, we can even just go with white people. Europe. I don't want to be like Europe. I don't want to be like the rape capital of the modern world, to be clear. And he also, what was it? Play that last portion again, really quickly.
Yeah, hold on. There we go.
So yeah. That's what, when Sarah Palin was talking about.
Oh, right. That's right. Sorry. He said the birtherism thing. Right. Let me tell you why. And birtherism, did it end up being silly? Yeah. But here's the reason why. The reason why was because this was a man who was so distinctly anti-American, who talked about colonialism, who talked about black liberation theology, and I believe Derek Bell, and he sat under his tutelage. And he talked about being raised in Kenya, and he seemed to revile everything that makes America, America. Even when he was elected, his wife said it was the first time she was ever proud of the United States. That means that all of the years she was alive up until then, she was ashamed of the United States of America. People thought, this guy can't be running. This guy doesn't even seem American. So that was spurred on. Was he born in the United States? I believe so. Is he American? Well, he's doing his damnedest to make it seem like he's not. And that brings us to this edition, the post-presidency edition of Barack Obama. What a piece of shit. As always, all the references, links are in the descriptions. Doesn't exist in a vacuum. This was a guy who led the country for 8 years, very, very poorly. Mm-hmm. And now you start to see, right, the mask comes off, who he really is and what he really believes. A lot of people thought he was very smart and he was moderate. No, he was not. Just because he was personable does not mean he was smart or moderate. He was a radical. The first one that we've had in our lifetime who really paved the way for the modern Democratic Party. When people say, I didn't leave the left left me, say that 5 times fast. What they mean to say is Barack Obama brought a lot of this into play. So let's get through this. This is on Marc Maron's WTF podcast, not the first time he's done it. Always goes to friendly audiences, of course. The left, their ideas can't stand up to scrutiny, so it makes sense. Here he is showing his saltiness, I guess you could say, about President Trump overturning his corrupt weaponizing our institution's legacy.
What was unusual for me was obviously a lot of what I represented.
Yeah.
A lot of what Michelle and I had tried to project.
Racism.
The values, our thinking about America. My successor seemed to represent the opposite.
Right.
The one you spied on?
Not seemed, did.
Yeah.
The one you spied on.
And so I think there was a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, some fear among a big chunk of the country.
Yeah, there was a lot of sadness because people didn't see their wages increase, unlike Donald Trump. We'll get to that. There was a lot of fear because we were seeing crime levels and crime waves across the city. And it's not across the country, largely in blue cities. And it's not just that we saw crime waves, because people will try and tweak the statistics, massage them. It's that we saw people commit crimes. You guys remember, right? Black Lives Matter started before Donald Trump. That's why he was elected. He was the law and order president. People try and say it's his fault, it's his rhetoric. No, it was Barack Obama's results that yielded Donald Trump as a response. When people saw that kind of crime, they saw those riots, and they were told to stand down. It wasn't just that there was it wasn't that there was an increase in crime, there was a difference in crime. And that for the first time, Americans, at least in this generation, knew that they were made to feel completely helpless. And they were vilified if they didn't have more empathy for the criminals than for their family. So Barack Obama did forever irreparably change the fabric of this country by handing over a lot of the power to criminals. What a piece of shit.
He's talking about people being sad and angry. Maybe they were sad and angry because they had a primary and the Democratic Party didn't primary the way they're supposed to and put Hillary Clinton out there.
Yeah, that could be said. Same one who took all the W's off the keyboard when her husband left office and George W. Bush came in. But you know, they're civil. They follow the decorum.
They read the BuzzFeed article.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And here's Barack Obama trying to subvert our constitutional republic by implying that President Trump is eroding democracy. Ooh, those are loaded words, by sending the military against what he calls ordinary street crime.
You don't use our military on domestic soil.
Wrong.
Unless there is an extraordinary emergency of some sort. That when you see an administration suggest that ordinary street crime is an insurrection or
a terrorist act.
Or a terrorist act. You know, that is a genuine effort to weaken how we have understood democracy.
Okay, so first off, I don't know if he's referring to the record murders in cities like Chicago. I don't know if he's talking about the crime wave sweeping these blue cities in the country because the police have been defunded or basically kneecapped. I don't know. But if he's referring to Antifa, so, you know, what is normal street crime? Is it normal street crime to attempt to firebomb ICE facilities? Let me be really clear. If he's talking about Antifa, which is an extension of Black Lives Matter, Antifa is a terror group. How do I know? They have chapters. They have recruitment policies. They have a mission statement. They have membership. They have a reason for they have a cause. And by the way, they get massive NGO funding. We've talked about that in Data Republic, and we have traced that. And these people are actively stopping the mandate of the masses. Donald Trump was elected in order to secure the border and has overwhelming support in deporting illegal aliens. Some small radical terrorists have taken it upon themselves to stop, to halt the will of the people. And he's also wrong where he says, hey, our military shouldn't be on, and you've actually done this.
Our military is not to be used on American soil. Well, that's what the National Guard is for.
Right.
It's literally their job.
Yep.
It's not like they're sending Army Rangers or Navy SEALs into these cities.
Yeah.
They're sending the National Guard to protect a federal building. That's literally their job. It's in their mission statement. Like, not exactly, but yeah. And he's not one to talk. I mean, I was in a unit at Fort Bliss, Texas, that was used in an operation called Operation Nimbus, where these are not National Guard, these are active duty Army soldiers, infantrymen, and Cav scouts were sent on Operation Nimbus to go patrol the southern border with Border Patrol.
Right. Yeah.
30 round, maybe it was a 20, maybe they maybe limited us to 20 rounds.
Yeah.
But I think it was a 30 round one magazine we were allowed to have, and they sent us out to patrol the border. And I'm not saying that's wrong.
And he tried
I'm
to
not
do it
saying it's
quietly.
wrong what they did, but to come back, 8 years later, 10 years, whatever it is, and go, how dare he use the military, and how dare he deport this many people, bitch.
I know. Yeah, and by the way, if it was me and they said one magazine, I'd have like a Tommy gun drum.
Okay.
He said one. Just a belt.
It's 100 rounds, but it's one mag. Dude, what do you want from me?
And what he really means, what's the alternative? The alternative is no, they should be allowed to continue with their crimes, to stop the deportations, to be taking over whole city blocks, and let the local authorities deal with it, where we have a city legislature that's controlled by Democrats who want to defund them. There is no alternative. We've reached this point because of you, Barack Obama. What a piece of shit. Here's the next one.
That's a good one. Did you record that yourself?
I don't know if you know this, but
soundbite.
the Democrats, namely former President Obama now, they have a lot of, you know what their big problem is? It's a surprise to you. Masks.
Oh.
We don't want masked, folks with rifles and machine guns.
Well, paintball guns.
Patrolling our streets.
And here's the thing. It doesn't work. It doesn't work anymore because, look, there was a period of time where the left, they were setting things up, they were orchestrating, and we didn't really know. We thought, yeah, okay, love is love. Right? We thought, yeah, okay, more people getting health care, that sounds good. Now we are living through what they have orchestrated, and we have seen them lock people down. We have seen them, by the way, tell folks to wear masks. We have seen them encourage the summer of love, where people also, again, rioted with masks. It falls on deaf ears. The biggest enemy, or the biggest hurdle that the left needs to overcome, is America's lying eyes and ears. And that's really tough. When you shouldn't be out there with masks on? Really? When did most Americans, for the first time ever, see masks as a popular endeavor, a trend? One time in our lifetime. That's right, COVID. It was encouraged and it continued. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Also, do you mean masked people, by the way, when you're talking about, we don't want people with masks going out there enforcing the law? Do you mean like Tim Walz using the National Guard in 2020 with paintball guns, enforcing curfew during the George Floyd riots? Of course, only on the law-abiding Americans. The rest were given space to destroy.
Get inside! Get in your house now! Let's go! Light him up!
Light them up.
Inside now! Get in the house!
What is this, Fallujah?
Now, see, now that's okay because it's being used against American citizens. Think about that. They were fine locking you down. They were fine with not even law enforcement officials with masks burning down cities. $2 billion in the first couple of months. No one has actually followed up on that, by the way. I've seen estimates as high as $10 billion in damages, but we don't know.
They weren't firing at people that were blocking a roadway. They weren't firing at people that were impeding with law enforcement operations. They weren't firing at people that were trying to break into an ICE facility and break their lines. They were literally firing at people for being on their front porch.
Right.
Where they pay property taxes.
Or as Barack Obama refers to it, just basic run-of-the-mill crime. Really? Okay, what a piece of shit. And here's one that's really rich. The man who is probably most responsible for weaponizing not only our justice system, but all of our three-letter agencies, including the IRS, against American citizens because of political persuasion. He really laments now that we have an unfair justice system under President Trump.
We don't want kangaroo courts and trumped up charges. That's what happens in other places that we used to scold for doing that. We want like our court system and our Justice Department and our prosecutors to be, and our FBI to be, just playing things straight and looking at the facts and not meddling in politics the way we've seen lately.
It's like the lawlessness, the weaponizing of the judicial system is kind of like their creed.
Wait, did you say creed?
Creed?
No.
Please just come spray me. If I don't clear my nose, I may sneeze.
You did say
never
creed.
Say that word
You
again.
asked for it.
I will never say that word again.
Talks about weaponizing. Does he mean like the Russia hoax directed by Barack Obama and his crew? Does he mean like Fast and Furious? You can go back to photo negative of Ned Flanders, right? Eric Holder. Does he mean like the lawfare against Donald Trump? Does he mean like in January 6th where you had over 200 FBI agents in the crowd, no due process? I don't know. Doesn't seem like he applies the same standard. Barack Obama, what a piece of shit. Now, here's the next main talking point in trying to divide the United States of America. And let our guests know we might just start at 50. I know he's waiting. We might just start at 11:50. Let Jason know. He wants to drive a wedge. Again, even though he's not president anymore, that's what he does. He's very good. He's very good at driving wedges. No idea if he still understands the concept of the wheel. He could be like one of his.
Jeez.
He says that the wealth gap, not him, not the Democratic Party, the wealth gap is what is driving division in America.
The idea that some people now have $300-400 billion on their way to $1 trillion, and you've got ordinary people still trying to figure out how to eat and pay the rent. That is driving a lot of this, right? And part of what I think we have to spend more time thinking about is some old-fashioned values that aren't based just on money and how much you got.
It's a tired old attack, and let me be really clear. The problem in our country isn't the wealth gap by itself. It's poverty and it's quality of life. In other words, if you have a wide wealth gap, but you have very few people in poverty, that's better than having a narrow wealth gap, but everyone lives in poverty. See Venezuela, see Cuba. They don't really have the same kind of wealth gap. So the real problem is poverty and standard of living. And we have the answers on that, where that actually tends to flourish. Annual incomes under Barack Obama, 8 years, they went up an average of $1,043. Annual incomes, on average, under Donald Trump, went up $4,000 his very first term. Went up $4,000, and then an extension of Barack Obama, former Vice President Biden, went down $4,200. Also, while we're talking about the wealth gap, if we want to go with the premise, under Biden, Barack Obama 2.0, right? We saw the greatest wealth transfer in modern American history. Billionaires increased their wealth by $1.8 trillion, about 58%, while 700,000 small businesses closed forevermore. And the wealth gap, by the way, also increased under Barack Obama himself. The percent of our population that lived under poverty increased by 1.6%, or 7 million people. Also, he takes $400,000 per speech from Wall Street while he talks about the wealth gap and not caring about how much you make. What a piece of shit. And then here he makes some nonsensical claim that dealing with migration, because Donald Trump bad, deportation's bad, and by proxy you bad because you voted for it and you still support it, makes the claim that actually the way to solve it is something, climate change. Don't get all wee-weed up.
Some bad stuff will happen, but you know what? That half a centigrade difference, that could be that could make a difference in a billion people's lives.
Right. Totally.
You know what? That 0.5% difference, that could be in entire coastal villages.
Let's assume he's correct. He's not.
What happens in Bangladesh, where
What happened?
hundreds of thousands or millions of people can eat instead of not eat.
Yeah.
It could affect whether or not people can make a living where they live, as opposed to trying to cross the oceans to migrate to places where they can, and all the political conflicts that come with that.
Okay, and this is kind of in the context of deporting bad, the policy approach toward immigration, the sort of mess that he's created is something, the climate change. Okay, let's accept the premise that climate change is the reason for mass migration. All right, former President Obama, you fix immigration through climate change policy. Get back to us on that. Until it kicks in, we'll build a wall and deport people. How about that? What a piece of shit this guy. The next one.
Also, they don't have to go across an ocean. They could just go north.
Yeah.
Gross.
Bangladesh.
Yeah, now
At that example.
Now being able to grow food, do northern Canada, do a lot of the Nordic countries where they have a longer growing season.
Oh.
Do cherries in Michigan, the most persnickety crop that exists in record yields, but the government tells farmers they have to dump it to keep prices artificially high. Let's go on to his Netflix partnership. You may not have known about this. Yeah, there's a direct partnership where he produces woke propaganda crap like Leave the World Behind, which, by the way, in case you say, hey, I think this guy supports race baiting, let me show you a clip of one of his projects with Netflix where they directly they do the race baiting.
I'm asking for you to remember that if the world falls apart, trust should not be doled out easily to anyone, especially white people. Even Mom would agree with me on that.
Ah, okay. I noticed she didn't say dad. Now,
We're like, We're like foxes. Can't trust us.
Can't trust white people. I'm assuming this is like a post-apocalyptic scenario, rebuilding the world. All right, how about this? You don't trust white people. You place trust in the cradle of civilization, largely Ethiopia, but Africa. And see, give it 10,000 years, and see if, like in our instance right now in the real world, this universe, it still looks like Africa. Here's the thing, if nothing else, if you want a society that functions and you want to get rid of tribal warfare, cannibalism, child sacrifice, you kind of want to trust some white people, or really modern Christendom, but he can't touch that with a 10-foot pole. What a piece of shit. Now, here he goes.
I really hope Jason's not on yet.
He wants to subvert our democracy, our constitutional republic entirely by, after not being president, still meeting with nations or people or activists in nations that he doesn't like. And he'll tell you why that is.
Like many of you, I've become increasingly concerned about the rising wave of authoritarianism sweeping the globe. No one is being spared. Even countries that thought they were immune from wholesale assaults on democracy now understand we're all part of this struggle. I recently sat down with 3 leaders who are part of the Obama Foundation's alumni network to discuss their work in Hungary and Poland, 2 countries on the leading edge of confronting autocracy. People like Stefania, Sandor, and Susanna, they give me hope. And it's why a big part of our mission here at the Foundation is to connect, inspire, and empower leaders like them.
Democracy is something to be practiced regularly. We need people to be engaged and to be empowered for them to feel the ownership of the country, that it's theirs, and not to give it away to someone.
Now, I guess that would sound great, like if he was dealing with a Pol Pot, by the way, communist or Mao. You guys, Poland and Hungary, they both freely elected their leadership. Like, that's what he has a problem with. And by the way, Poland elected a conservative president. They still have a liberal prime minister. It's actually pretty damn balanced. Also, pretty damn safe. In 2023, the rape numbers in Poland were 1,130. In the UK, 68,000.
Wow. Oh, jeez.
Poland kind of got trounced on. They were the butt of people's jokes, and they went a different direction and said, yeah, we're not going to keep tolerating that. But I will tell you this, what sort of set the stage for everything that we're experiencing now, and I hear this a lot when people talk about, well, actually, it's the rhetoric of Donald Trump. Don't you think it's the rhetoric of Donald Trump? That's why we have what we have right now. No, the single most corrosive thing that set the wheels in motion for Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and this kind of soft civil war that we have right now was Barack Obama, when he didn't need to say anything, choosing to go out of his way and address what we now know were fraudulent claims on the initial Black Lives Matter race-baiting case of Trayvon Martin. He decided that he just had to stick his oar in and let you know about it.
But my main message is to the parents of Trayvon Martin. If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon.
And he kept talking about it, and he kept talking about it. And people like us who were raised in largely, I'm not saying that racism is ever eradicated, a post-racial America where our biggest film stars were Will Smith and Denzel Washington. Biggest shows were shows like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Steve Urkel, Family Matters, right? The most recognizable faces on earth in the 90s were Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson. I know, okay, we'll call that a half point.
But they're all Michaels.
Yeah, and then after the first black president was elected, race relations became worse than ever. All of us thought, hey, at least with this happening, at least now there'll be some healing that will take place.
Right.
Even if we didn't agree with his policies. And instead, they got unbelievably worse between 2013 and 2015 alone. The percent of respondents to Gallup saying that race relations were good, with white people, it went down by 27%. Jeez. With black Americans, it went down by 15%. So I guess he was, in one way, the great uniter, in that he united Americans to fear, to mistrust, to revile their neighbor, and to divide us more than ever before, because you see that across the board. Hey, I'm really glad we had some of that healing Barack Obama style. What a piece of shit. This has been Barack Obama post-presidency. What a piece of shit.
When the
Oh, you're still here? And you're still watching this on YouTube? You've probably noticed something is missing by now. I'm not here. That's because the Live Daily Show is now streaming exclusively on Rumble weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Tune in there, where nothing is censored.